Hello, I'm Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. Here at one of my favorite spots, the barbershop, where we know if you're gonna complain here, then you better provide solutions.
Good.
It's good. I firmly believe when we make other people's problems part of our conversations without providing solutions or prayer, then we become part of the problem. I want to be able to provide people with a platform where they can freely express their views on such topics as education, social issues, health and fitness. Now that's good. Or sports. So please join me so we can complain and provide solutions together. Hey, what's going on, people? This is your man, Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. We're gonna complain. Be ready to bring some solutions to the table. So I have a very special guest today. His name is Dr. Richard Cook. He's running for Charles County Board of Commissioners, District 1. And I'm actually outside. So you may hear some balls, bounces, and kids playing because I wanted to be outside. So what I will say, like I say at all my shows, is that I do this for free. And this is my way of giving back, but it's part of the voter education series. And I want to make sure that not only myself, but all our residents are well informed about the candidates. So this gives them a platform to use to talk about, their issues and get a sort of a Q&A from me, but also it gives you, the voter, the opportunity to really understand all the candidates, but at the same time to understand the issues. I sent out an email to every registered Charles County Board of Commissioner candidate, as well as every Charles County Board of Education candidate. Some have taken me up on this free advertising and format, and some have declined for whatever reason. But it is what it is. So with that, we're going to introduce, once again, my special guest, Dr. Richard Cook, who is running for the Charles County Board of Commissioners, District 1. All right, welcome, Dr. Cook. Welcome. Always a pleasure to have you back on the show. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, Derek. I am doing outstanding. Thank you for doing what you do. I've been telling a lot of these interviewers that these podcasts and social media recording events are the new public square. And people get a lot of information from you all, and we really appreciate the exposure and the hard work you put in it. Must be tiring.
Yeah, yes and no. But I like I think I mentioned before, I do this because this is my way of giving back. I don't look to get paid or want, because I want to be able to do it when I do it.
Right.
So, and knowing some of your platform, being a staunch environmentalist, I'm outside. So you may hear some people out there playing basketball, cutting grass, using what do you call it? The fertilizer doesn't burn the grass.
Right.
That's what I use though. I use Malogranite, whatever it's called. But so you may hear a little bit of noises out here, but just some birds chirping. Probably like, why am I outside? But we're out here. So with that, we're gonna get started. So
yeah, and I do appreciate the environmental background.
Yeah. So before we get started, let us know about Dr. Cook person.
Yeah, so I could go on for a while, and I do not like to talk about myself, but I'm a man that's worked hard all my life. I've had a job since I was like 9 years old. Started delivering papers. I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland. dishwashed, busboyed, waited tables, valet parked cars, put myself through college. Before that, won a state championship in lacrosse, black belt in karate, member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, member of countless medical organizations, president of the Charles County Medical Society, business owner, small business owner and private practice, and very big, just like yourself, in giving back to my community. That's just part of the, as Muhammad Ali said, the rent we pay for God letting us be healthy and in good mind and body. But most of all, and most importantly, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, and I'm a physician who's been practicing medicine in Charles County since 2005. And I'm very proud of that. And I have a pretty darn good reputation. And again, I don't like patting myself on the back, but you know, when you run for office, you gotta be vetted and people do want to know about you. And I know that's just part of it. But I'm pretty well known for the medical services and lectures, talks, discussions I give in the community about making people healthier, especially during COVID.
Okay. And what I find, and like I told some other candidates, fascinating about when I interview candidates is some of these similarities that we have, or some things I can relate to. You talk about working since the age of 9. I've probably been doing that too, whether I was cutting grass, raking leaves, shoveling snow. But you know, I was hustling. I was finding a way to get money. Didn't grow up in Annapolis, grew up in Edgewood, but I did go to Edgewood High, who during my senior year, we won the lacrosse championship. I don't know.
Did you really?
Well, I didn't, but they did.
Oh, I mean, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, they I don't know who they played. Maybe Mount Hebron. I don't know who it was.
Right.
They played somebody and they won. And then I won the state championship that year in the 300
In what?
hurdles.
Oh, her. Okay. Cool.
And also you mentioned putting yourself through school.
Mm-hmm.
And
medical school.
Yeah, and I can resonate with that because I always tell people, if you get a scholarship, you have to work to get that scholarship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for myself, I had military, so you know I had to be military, and I got the GI Bill and all the other stuff. But I had to do all that because my parents couldn't afford to send me to college.
Right.
Or college, maybe college wasn't on their mind. I really don't know, but you know, I found a way. And then the other thing, and you know, I still pay homage to all my Divine Nine, but I'm alpha. And
where are you going with this?
I don't have to. You know how you got that gold, right?
Right. I heard you.
But yeah, and then the other thing, we're both residents and we do give back in our own way. So definitely appreciate that. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. You're running for Charles County Commissioner, District 1. And most people familiar with District 1 is, but I'm going to put it up real quick so everybody can see. And oops, hold up, we're dealing with technology. There we go. And you know, this is the little thing I put together.
Oh, fancy.
But for those who don't know District 1 is all this area right here. Looking at it, it's the largest area geographically in Charles County, but population is equivalent or somewhat equivalent to all the other districts.
Right.
So district running as commissioner for District 1, you have to live in the district, but you're there to represent the entire district.
Right.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts of District 1, let's go ahead and address this budget, because we know it just came out. I haven't looked at it in its entirety, so I'll be honest. I've never agreed with a budget. So I'm sure there's things in there. I'm like, man, why we spend that much on that? Man, we could spend more on this. So what are some things in the budget that you would agree with and some things that you would disagree with?
Well, just like you, it just came out and I'm digesting it as well over time. And as I do that, I want to be detailed in it. But in general, when you look at the budget, it's about $44 million over last year's budget. And when you think of an increase in budget like that, you have to think about, in general terms, sustainability. How can you sustain a budget that increases pretty much every year? And when you rely on taxes to do that, I consider that unsustainable. So, as you know, part of my platform is sustainability throughout all of government and life in general. And two of my big platform ideas should fix that, totally fix that. Some people that I've seen on social media don't have a problem with the increased budget, but again, it's not sustainable. And yes, we need great schools. We need safe streets. We need infrastructure and so forth. And when you look at the result of why we have an unsustainable budget, me personally, and what I've seen is it has to do with that trickle down theory that we've been touting in this county for decades. If you build it, it will come, whether it's homes or businesses. And you look around the country where places, whether metropolitan or rural areas that have a lot of homes and a lot of businesses, their taxes still go up. So you basically have to become a producer. Your county has to not just devour all of its resources, which, as we say, increase and increase. And I might say and add that usually the only time these budgets have to decrease is in times of recessions or depressions or downturns. I can't hear you.
I don't think it happened during our last one. I think it may have went up, but
2008. No, look back at 2008.
Oh, well, that may have been the only time. But what happens near somewhere around the bubble? We had the bubble, and then yeah, I can kind of see at that.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
That has to happen during those times.
You had mentioned businesses and or that you build it, they will come, which I don't have a problem with if it's something that's going to bring the much needed revenue. So what type of things do you envision that should be attracting people to come to Charles County that would lessen the burden of property taxes put in the bill? What are some things?
Well,
how would you get them?
Well, as I've actually said, I don't think it's going to be residents in businesses. I really don't, because we can see that across the country. There's places that have many businesses, way more than we do, and their taxes still go up. I think that's another selling point that is likely also going to be unsustainable. So my platform is based on production. And who's the producer? We, the people, whether it's with the government or not. Now, the first item up on the agenda is called public banking. It's been around for centuries. Public banking is used in some of the largest and biggest economies and countries on the planet. It is also used by the red state of North Dakota for over 100 years, and they have some of the most highest number in private banks in America.
Well,
and basically,
I just want to, but I always say it like this: North Dakota is not Charles County. North Dakota is not Maryland.
Well, let me finish.
And they've been doing this for 100 years, so it took them quite an amount of years to get up to the point.
It didn't. If you study it, it did not.
Huh?
Just because they've been doing it for 100 years doesn't mean it took them 100 years to get there. So let me finish, because it's not very well known. I've read 3 books on the subject, and it's very simple, very, very simple. Basically, what you do is, first of all, you tell a public bank, just to tell our constituents that public banks are not owned or run by the government. They're owned by the people. So there's no socialism or anything like that in there. And when you look at our tax dollars, where do we put them? We put them in big banks, private banks, Wall Street banks. And what do they do with our money? They charge us fees to keep it there. And then they loan it back to us at high interest rates. And what do they do with that money? It goes out of the county and they invest it in stocks, bonds, shareholders, buybacks, etc. And they enrich themselves. Why do that with them when we can do that on our own? It's not hard at all. Why put our money in a middleman and make the middleman rich when we can enrich ourselves with keeping the money in our own public bank, loaning it back to ourselves at low interest rates or near zero interest rates, and also loaning it back to small businesses, work startups, infrastructure, renewable energy. You make money off of your own money. It's very, very simple. And North Dakota has been doing that for 100 years.
Question, are you talking about this public bank where our tax dollars would go into it, or the residents would use this bank like they use any other bank?
Both.
Because
function just like a regular bank.
Because I
it's
guess
publicly owned.
If we have this bank, it's going to have to be massive.
It's going to have to be what?
Be massive.
Oh no, the infrastructure's already there, my friend.
No, to handle that much volume, as far as just my thing is how does it generate money? And then you got the Bank of America. You have all these banks around here that currently fund, other businesses. They fund some of these homes. How do you transfer all that into a public bank without disrupting what we already have?
Oh, there's no disruption. It's just taking our money out of big banks that are too big to fail and use our money to enrich themselves and keeping it in our own bank. Think about it this way. How many people refinanced over the last 2 years? Hundreds of thousands, probably millions, right? Now, how many banks do you think are involved in refinancing? Hundreds, thousands probably. Now, if someone said, Derek, I'm going to give you a 1.9% refinance and I'm going to take your 6% or your 4% down to that, would you turn it down?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think anybody would.
Yeah, I would.
So getting a lower percentage rate is the basis for public banking. It saves you money and it makes the government money.
Is a public bank FDIC?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course, just like any other bank.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it meets all the criteria for it. And guess who we can use for the infrastructure until we build our own infrastructure? Same people that North Dakota uses, the private banks. Private banks would love to get our hands on the money, but however, we have different rules and regulations how they can use our money, which I've just stated.
That's a very interesting, solution.
It takes a while to simmer and really, especially since it's a new idea to many folks, but it is very simple to do. It is growing in popularity around the country. And if you want some sustainability, you got to think outside the box. This is very innovative, but it's been around for a long time.
Okay. So we talked about that. And the other issue is we know that we live in a community where it's growing as far as population.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing as far as median income. It's increasing the values of our homes. So when the value of your home increases, to some degree, you're going to pay a little bit more unless the county lowers the, I believe it's the constant yield tax,
right?
Which they could have lowered to be commensurate with the state.
But you mean that article they put out in the newspaper saying they didn't raise taxes is not true?
It technically didn't, but it did. It's
I'm playing around with that answer.
Yeah, but they're playing with semantics. But at the end of the day, if I'm paying more, then I'm paying more taxes because that's extra or additional tax revenue that they're going to get based off the fact that the houses went up but you could have lowered the constant yield rate to put some more
Absolutely.
money back in our pocket.
Absolutely.
But
And I was
by
kind of
doing,
just making a,
yeah,
I
but
was
then
making
by,
a small
yeah,
joke about that.
but by doing that, this is what happens, and this is what I want to get your take on it.
Okay.
Education will get a decrease,
Mm-hmm.
or get the same. Sheriff's Department, attorney, I didn't get the word right, but you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That office. You have a lot of other government agencies that won't be able to maybe give raises,
Right.
improvements, whatever. So how do we? I think they were caught, meaning that if they were to lower it, then where are we going to get the money from for these increases? Because I don't know of any government agency that comes into for a budget request said we're going to take less money this year because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about unsustainability.
Yeah.
When does it end? And since we do need to increase and find innovative ways to fund and have the funding, we need to be producers. Public banking is one. My other is and I'm sure you've heard about this before, and I know people call me an environmentalist, but really I'm a scientist. And what I do is I tell people how our human activity in the last 150 years is changing the dynamics of our ecosystem, which has a very fine line of livability. And once you start changing that, life becomes very risky and hangs in the balance. And currently, and a lot of people don't understand this or know this, but we are currently in what's called the sixth mass extinction event, which means human activity has added and we're currently in a sixth mass extinction to the other five that happened over the last millions of years. And we're doing it like we're turbocharged, however, and life cannot be compatible with that. And we're seeing that in many, many different ways. And if you don't have the science background, or if you're not looking for it, it's like going to the doctor and us telling you, well, 5 of these 6 antibiotics don't work, so we hope for the best, and not knowing that antibiotic failure is one of the most problematic things in medicine and scary things in medicine. But back to what we were saying about
because what I want to know is, how does that relate to Charles County, specifically District 1? Because I know it because I mentioned before, it's one of the larger geographic areas in Charles County. So you kind of have some of everything, meaning that you have areas that are similar to Waldorf as far as population. Then you have a lot of rural areas. You have woods, you got water. What are some things that, if you're like this commissioner, that you would want to continue or you would want to see that's not only going to benefit, because if it benefits District 1, in your mind, it benefits all of Charles County. That's a fair assessment? Okay.
Absolutely. Not only that, Derek, but I think about my decisions affecting the country and the world, called the butterfly effect. If something happens in Kansas, it might affect someone in Kathmandu, and we've proven that scientifically. So when you think about the sprawl development, and we also talked about the social media being the public square, I think from what I've seen, obviously I've seen no polls, but a lot of people talk about how we're just overdeveloped and our infrastructure cannot handle the overdevelopment. And again, that was sold to us for decades. If you build it, it will come, trickle down and so forth. And it hasn't panned out. And people are tired of the redistricting of schools. They're tired of the trailers, tired of the second highest property taxes. They're tired of all these homes not increasing value, because when you have lots of competition, that decreases value. That's why people move here. I just saw a patient the other day said she moved here, even though she works in Northern Virginia, because the prices are nice and lower. We also have,
mine's increased.
of course, increased who hasn't had an increase in their home during this pandemic?
No,
We're
I'm
in
just
a
talking about in general. It's like, I know for me, it's almost 200 in equity.
we're in a boom cycle right now. So everyone's home is increased. That's why the home market is like this. But tell you what, when people are say your home costs or is worth $500,000 or $600,000, and Bryantown developers comes and puts up a new development next to yours, and they sell those homes for $500,000 or $600,000 also. Do you think someone's going to want to buy an older home or a brand new spanking new home?
Oh no, I understand. That's how I ended up, getting this new home, because I was like, well, wait a minute, I might as well get a new home if I'm gonna spend the same amount for a used one.
Absolutely. Competition also. The more products out there, usually the less you pay for that. So here's what I was saying about sprawl. Since 2015, approximately, there has been 45 additional subdivisions that have come about. And that's thousands and thousands of homes. This is on the back of the overcrowding schools, the longest commute in the nation, probably, second highest taxes, redistricting, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would do is I would slow that down and have smart growth instead of unsustainable growth, and growth that affects how people use and get to a hospital, how the police can help out, how the health department can see people and help out. Our schools obviously are way overcrowded. And obviously, one of the reasons that the taxes stay high is because when you build all these homes, you need schools, and schools cost, tens and hundreds of $1,000,000 a piece. And the money generated after all these decades of building still need to be high. And we have to have those, what are they called? The impact fee taxes to support that. So it's still unsustainable.
But wasn't there, and I think it may be the excess tax, that's the tax I think may pay for either school construction or students. But I know there was a time where the developers had to pay, whatever it was, 2.5, and that money would go into providing seats for an upcoming school or whatever it may be. And I don't think that right now is currently in effect. I think it had to do with school allocation or something like that. But one of the things you had mentioned, the sprawl, and I know with the 45 divisions or subdivisions that have been built, some of that is attributed to docket 90, where legally we didn't have a choice.
Actually, this is since 2015.
No, but I'm saying some of it is still a
docket 90s from.
Yeah, but it's still, but it's, oh, hold on for a second.
That's environment.
And as I told people, I'm outside, no, what I mean by that is it's a plan, meaning that all those houses haven't been built per docket 90. So
yeah, but that's understandable. But I'm talking about specifically since 2015.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I'm just curious of what our situation would be if we didn't have it. Would the schools have their money, or I guess the schools wouldn't be overcrowded? There wouldn't be a need for new schools, or I don't know. It's sort of like you damn you do, you damn you don't. If you don't build anything and you don't bring any money, I think our issue is that we didn't have any living wage jobs here. So when you look at areas like Anne Arundel, PG, Fairfax, even St. Mary's, they have PAX. We have Indian Head, but Indian Head is not PAX. And you have Calvert, who has this, although we talk about environmental, they have the nuclear plant, but any way you look at it, there's something that is generating some revenue, so they don't have to build this more, but they can.
Yes. And you just said what I said. They're producers. Now, one thing I must say about the wealth here and not having those type of jobs is remember, people have to remember that we are probably the wealthiest minority majority county in the country. We probably surpassed PG. So that wasn't done by building houses and providing jobs at Indian Head, as you said. So the premise again about building and having our overcrowded schools and roads and lack of infrastructure, it's just unsustainable. And my feeling is when you become this wealthy and powerful as a county, you shouldn't be taken advantage of and not have a say in that when it's clearly not working like they told us it was going to work. And if you think about other places that have that type of wealth, as you mentioned, Anne Arundel County, they have a pretty good hold, and Calvert County, on their development. Calvert County actually redid their comp plan and rezoned twice in the past 10, 20 years and made it so, the housing density doesn't get out of hand. So and this is what I hear constantly on social media. People are just a little tired of all this building.
Well,
And I agree with them.
I think the other thing is those counties have a larger commercial tax base.
Not Calvert.
Well, not Calvert, but Calvert,
Anne Arundel, yes, but
but when you look at Calvert, there's not going to be a mass, I say, a rush,
right,
for people to want to move in certain, because the way Calvert is. Calvert was the old Charles County.
Well, also because their zoning is set up that way.
Yeah.
You can't overbuild there. But just remember, we are the wealthiest minority majority. We need to have more power, more say so. We need to practice economics where we work together, use our tax base, use our tax dollars, use our personal private dollars to make ourselves profitable and producers. And that leads me to my next proposition, which is my 70,000 solar wind rooftop project, which basically means if you want to, it's an option. It doesn't have to be done by the government or SMECO or whoever. It can be done by any company. You can get solar at no charge, and you might even be able to get a $1,000 payment just to do it. Put solar on your home, cut your utility bills usually by half, and pay nothing out of pocket, and maybe even get $1,000 to do it. This will stabilize your energy prices. If you decide to get a hybrid or an electric vehicle, you can charge it that way. You don't have to be off grid. You can still be hooked up to the grid and just use the solar panels to generate energy and sell it, which makes you a business owner and a producer of something. You decrease our reliance on fossil fuels. You take power from Putin and Saudi Arabia. And Derek, I think you're 32, so you may not remember this, but I remember. So you probably read about the 70s when we had the oil embargo.
Yeah,
and we had all those long
I don't
lines.
remember it, but I remember through reading. Yeah, I do.
There you go. But one of the things that which is crystal clear and came out of that, is those small gas saving cars like the Hondas and the Civics and so forth, because people are tired of paying those gas prices. And now we're seeing a transition for people wanting to do electric and hybrid, and solar is going through the roof. Solar has increased 20%, where the usage of fossil fuels has stayed pretty stagnant because of the price of it. And so if you make your own energy, you don't have to buy as much. That puts money in your pocket. And we can do that with schools. We can do that with government buildings. We can do that with rooftops. We can do that with garage tops. And it will cost you nothing.
Yeah, and actually I agree with you on that, because I've seen it over years. I've seen it at the Air Force Academy. I've seen it at the Community College of Baltimore County, all three campuses: Dundalk, Catonsville, Essex.
Georgetown tried to do that down here.
Yeah, so it's definitely an option. I have solar panels, but I haven't got to the point to where I've had a zero zero bill yet. I don't know how long
No,
that's going to take.
generally you don't get a zero bill. It usually cuts it like half or something like
Yeah, we
that.
don't get that type of sun on, whatever. But maybe if I was like in Arizona or something, it may be close to it. Who knows?
Well, you know,
But
this 70,000 panel initiative was designed from Germany's 100,000, 200,000 solar panel initiative. And they are pretty much one of the cloudiest places. I know you've been around because you're in the military. They're pretty much one of the cloudiest places on the planet. They only get sun for 1/3 of the year. And last year they made so much solar. They run on about all their energy is about 80% solar. And they produced so much solar last year that they had to sell it.
Well, it's probably because I've lived in Germany and it doesn't in the summertime, it doesn't get dark until like 9:30, almost 10 o'clock.
But it is still cloudy for most of the year.
Yeah, most of the year, yeah, it is. But during the summer, it pretty much because they're getting extra day. I don't know why, but I'm like, I remember playing basketball at 9 o'clock, and I was like, "What time is it?" I'm thinking it's 8, and it's 9 o'clock.
Right.
So now
And this is a no-brainer when it comes to not only creating self-sustainable systems, and these solar panels, they last for like 25, 30 years.
well, what
Um,
is the pushback? I'm guessing it's the Smeckos or
no, there's
whoever.
no pushback. Smecco has put, many solar farms around the county. Um, I think we do have an addiction to fossil fuels, but things like that are happening now with gas prices, this makes it right for implementation. And you know what, Derek, it's going to happen anyway. Why? Because we have the Marrakesh Climate Agreement, we have Glasgow 6, we have the Paris Climate Accords, and many others. The state of Maryland has like the greenhouse energy thing or something like that.
I think the other
And
thing,
it's being implemented no matter what happens.
and I think the other thing I look at when you let's look at the school system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my camera. Oops, the camera went out. Sorry about that. When you think about the school system,
Mm-hmm.
and I could be wrong, I haven't looked at the budget.
Okay.
One of their largest expenses is payroll. The
Okay.
other one would have to be energy.
Absolutely.
It would have to.
Yeah, it
And
is.
and you look at the millions that could be saved, and then in essence, they wouldn't have to ask for that much money,
Yeah.
or they can use that money for something else. So, but that's a whole different topic for a different day. So the other
Yeah, and
thing
let
I
me just
want
say
to,
one thing on that.
yeah,
There's been about 3,700 school municipalities that have implemented this program, and it saved them millions. And it went from negative budgets to surplus budgets, and they were able to increase teacher pay for that. And it cost them nothing to do, nothing.
yeah, which begs me to wonder, is it about the kid? Well, I was told a long time ago by someone who was in office. He's no longer in office anymore, but they had told me education is $1 billion industry, powerful
Mhm.
money. And I thought
Yeah.
about it. So why would you say that? Because that makes me think: is it really about the kids or is it about the money? But
Well, just look at what Betsy DeVos is trying to do. A lot of very, very rich people tend to go for government programs and try to privatize them, whether it's Medicare, whether it's the school system, no matter what it is, Social Security. And that's my definition of grifting. And I think we have grifters in this county also. I wouldn't name any names, but I think the development has taken advantage of the county and its citizens through its cozy relationship
okay.
with some people.
All right. So something else I want to think about now. When
Mhm.
we're just talking about District 1 for right now.
Okay. Mhm.
What is the main, I guess, your main focal point when it comes to District 1? Like if you were to become the commissioner, you know what? This is what I want to start from day one. Get it
Mhm.
rolling. What would that be?
Quality of life, my friend. Quality of life. I, like many who moved down here, considered this what we call a quote unquote bedroom community. I grew up in Annapolis, as we were talking about before, we started the interview, and there was a country city next to Annapolis called Davisonville that was mainly like farmland and so forth. Now it's like $1 Million Row. But when I moved to Hughesville, I thought to myself, this is like Davisonville, and I love it. It's open, it's not crowded, it's not congested. It's, we have a lot of trees here. I got acreage. I'm not close to this person. Traffic ain't bad because my office is in Waldorf. And it was a great quality of life. Now with a lot of the development that's going on, here's something to think about. When we overdevelop, and as I said before, we lack the infrastructure, one of the things we've seen throughout the county and Hughesville is mostly well water, the area, in District 1, a lot of people are on well water. And when I moved here, it was said that well water would last roughly 60, 70 years. Okay, there's a finite time on when that water would run out. When you start building more and more homes, that timeline gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So what happens after that? We have to start thinking about funding infrastructure to do that. And that type of infrastructure is the type of infrastructure that has gone into the big city of Waldorf. Where do they get their water from? DC. Yeah. If you know about DC's water history, you don't want water from DC, but you have to get it from DC because there's no alternatives. And guess what? So does PG. So does Montgomery County, and they have way more people than we do. And we're putting a lot of money into this water system where DC can say, you know what, Charles County, they only have 170,000 people, but PG is daggone near 1 million, and Montgomery County daggone near 1 million. They take precedent. So when a water shortage occurs or a water problem occurs, guess who's going to get the short end of the stick? It's going to happen. I guarantee it's going to happen. That's what I mean by this infrastructure is unsustainable with the current system. And you know what? People know that, but they do it anyway because of that almighty dollar and the taxpayers foot the bill.
And I think I see your point now. Because, I've heard you say this, and I think some people are looking at short term. They're not looking at long term. They're look, I got a couple years there, I'm gone, so it really doesn't matter. You talk about the quality of life. You're in Hughesville, I'm in Waldorf, and I look at it differently when I think of quality of life. I want the amenities. I want, I didn't move here because of the bedroom community. I moved here thinking that they were going to get some of the stuff that some of the other counties have when it comes to entertainment, sports, stuff like that. That's what I was thinking.
And that's fine. Waldorf is a city.
Yeah.
Waldorf is a city.
And I've talked about it. It could easily be a municipality.
Yeah, that's true too.
It easily could. Now that's a different topic for a different day, but I can I can tell you that a lot of, and I look at it like this: if people complain so much about Waldorf and everything that's going on, then let Waldorf be its own.
Right.
But we know what would happen. Right. I think a lot of the resources that you may get because of the tax base here could be gone or reduced.
Right. Right. Well, I think no matter what you want in Waldorf, you definitely want clean running water and for it not to run out early. That would be a catastrophe beyond belief because there is no life or entertainment or milk or food because food grows with water. And so you have to think about it. And I'm glad you brought that up because the word I use for that is externalities. No matter what decision I make, it's got to meet my 7-7 criteria. It's got to be good for the first 7 years through 7 generations. And that's how a lot of indigenous people have worked throughout modern human history because they've been through bouts where they've out-eaten their environment or they had a drought or flood or hurricane that wiped things out. So we do have to think in terms of sustainability, and we have to make sure we have something here for our kids because I'll get back to what I said earlier, as one of the wealthiest or not the wealthiest minority county in the country, and the fact that people like you that look like you and me have been blessed beyond belief, that some of our brothers and sisters around the planet would never, ever fathom. I think we have a moral obligation to lift up everyone and to make sure that our county and planet are sustainable and livable in the next 7 generations.
Okay, so
Because you and I are going to do fine.
yeah. Now, we got a couple more minutes, but I've got 2 quick questions. I've heard you through, and well, let me give you my philosophy on special interests. And we're just talking about the county. If someone likes something in my platform and they want to donate, cool. I'm like, look, I'm not promising you that I'm going to give you a contract, but if they know, hey, he's pro business, but I'm also smart growth, I like this person. Or if they say, you know what, he's about saving the Mattawoman River.
Right.
That may be the only thing they like. It doesn't necessarily mean they bought you. It means they're contributing to your campaign because of a special interest within them. You have decided to donate all, I don't know for if you win for all 4 years, but at least the first year to donate your entire salary.
All 4 of my friends.
Okay, 4 years, your entire salary.
To charities to be determined by the county.
It's definitely very, very generous, and you ought to be commended for it. But I'm playing devil's advocate. Well, he's in the position where he can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be reared and congratulated. I'm happy I could do that. I don't need it. Plus, I think it sets a tone for why people should run for office. It should be an altruistic thing to do. And as far as special interests, when you look at politics in general, it's legal, right? We know it's legal to give money to people, but I think a lot of democracy in general and problems that we have in general with monopolies and corporations and big banks that are too big to fail and military industrial complex and developers and so forth, those are the people that are in that 0.01% that give obscene amounts of money, and they usually get what they want done. And that was actually proven and shown in a 2015 study by Gillens and Page, two economists from University of Pennsylvania Northwestern, where they basically showed that average Americans, even when in the majority, have negligible effects in shaping public policy, which basically means that they rarely get what they want, and the corporations do. And I don't think anyone disagrees with that, and it is legal. But me personally, my integrity and knowledge of what that's done to our country over the past 400 years won't let me do that. I think it's wrong.
Well, we do understand with campaigning, things have to be financed. You're fortunately in a position to where you can do that. I
still don't spend that much money.
Yeah. When I was running for office, I'm not going to say I was in a fortunate position, but I was fortunate where I could loan myself something. And the hope was that I would, get people that share either one thing or some things when it came to my platform, and they did. Now I understand raising money doesn't guarantee you're going to win, as you can see. But it for me, and I'm not saying I don't like when people saying that you're being bought. I said, how am I being bought if there's something, everyone's special interest. If I give you money because of the environment, did I buy you? Or did I just
it depends on how much is given and who's given it.
But see,
and then the quid pro quo.
Well, that's something different. That I can understand.
If a teachers union is giving you money, if a grandma is giving you $20, $100, You know, the Sierra Club gave me $100 last time I ran. I tore the check up because I think that will open up these questions that you're asking. So I didn't take it. And what's $100 going to do, right? We know that's not going to do much.
Well, it
Um,
would for someone who doesn't have $100 in their campaign.
now, let's take it to a national level. You have health insurance, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It goes up every single year like clockwork. Not only that, but
With the
they
premium,
cover
yeah,
less.
yeah. The
Yes,
premium,
and
yeah.
they cover less. And guess who's the biggest lobby in America? Health and pharmaceuticals. And what do? They make sure that the prices stay high and the care stays low. And they have bought our politicians to make laws that are in that favor. There are laws in which Medicare can't negotiate drug prices for certain conditions, or the fact that Medicare, people don't know this, is now about 51% privatized. This is what I was talking about earlier about, these billionaire grifters trying to get this government money. And United has done it, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna. They own half of Medicare. That is ridiculous. And when they do that, we subsidize it. We're paying them to do that. And then guess what they do? They don't cover us when we need them. It is absolutely insane. So
I'm
that's the
definitely
type of stuff I'm talking about.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna take your word for it, because that's your area of expertise. So I'm not gonna debate you.
Google it.
I definitely enjoyed you being on today. Hopefully we can get together some other time, whether it's on the show. But I do this thing called word funnies, where
Word
I
what?
say word funnies. I say a word,
Okay.
and you say what comes to your mind, whether it's a
Okay.
word or a sentence, but don't give me a testimony or anything like that. Just keep it short, sweet.
Okay.
And then I close out with pretty much you tell me why people should vote for you, but we'll get to that in a second. So
Okay.
ready?
I am ready.
All right. Charles County.
Beautiful place to live.
All right. La Plata High School.
La Plata High School. I just read an article about that flag being raised, a Confederate flag. So needs some help, but a good school. Both my kids went there.
Okay. Student athlete.
Me and you.
All right. College readiness.
Hard work.
Property taxes.
Second highest in the state. Too high, unsustainable.
Accessibility and accountability.
I'm a physician. I'm on call 365, 24/7, doing it for 20 years. Accountability. I've treated tens of thousands of Charles Countyans. They've put their lives in my hand, and my record stands for itself.
All right. And public trust.
Yeah, public trust. I can say my last answer, which I just gave you, the same thing. People trust me with their lives, white, black, Confederate people, this, that, you name it.
And well, I meant to say public trust in terms of Charles County government.
Well, it depends on who's in office, and I don't think there's a lot of trust right now from some of the commissioners, because as we talked about earlier, when you raise taxes and then you say they weren't raised, that's not something that people trust.
Okay.
We're very wealthy and educated people. You can't bamboozle us.
Definitely understood. So this concludes the interview. But before we go, like I tell everyone, if I'm in District 1, well, it doesn't really matter because anybody can vote for you. Why should I vote for you? And you got like a minute. Why should I vote for Dr. Cook for Board of Commissioners, District 1?
Yeah, when you see what we've gone through in the last 2.5 years with this pandemic, that brings out leaders, and it makes people who aren't leaders hide and squander. And we have been in one of the, if not the biggest crisis in the last 100 years in Charles County, which has affected our economy. It's killed over 300 Charles Countyans. That has brought out a lot of leaders, just like yourself. You're doing this as well, and you never let back. And I think that tells you a lot about people that can overcome adversity, because I do that every day at my job. And it's what a leader does. They don't just sit back and come out when it's convenient or during election time. The other thing is I'm going to bring in science, integrity, and economics, and it's going to be based on truth, data, common sense, cognitive thinking, and deductive reasoning. And I think the platform I have is extremely sustainable. There's actually way more sustainable items I do have on my platform that are very interesting. And the other thing that I think most of us will agree on is I am going to make sure that you're not looking at another 3,000 homes next door to you in the next 4 years, 8 years, however many other years, unless it is something that can be sustainable, which means we have enough schools and roads and EMS and health department, etc.
Okay.
So those are what I'd say are pretty good reasons to vote for me. I have a great record in this county, and I'm very well known, and I would appreciate you letting me treat you as I treat my physicians, with care, compassion, and with my heart.
All right, definitely appreciate that. And real quick, how can they, if someone wants to reach out to you for further questions, donate to your campaign, be part of your campaign, how can they get in contact with you?
Mainly through Facebook. And let me give you my campaign phone number, which I am accessible on as well. But Facebook, just look up Dr. Cook and or Richard Cook, actually. And my phone number, campaign phone number, is 240-640-1286. I wouldn't really worry about trying to donate. What I try to do is get people power, grassroots power. We would love your help knocking on doors, stuffing campaign literature in bags, posting on social media about us, and spreading the word, because we are up against a machine, and machines are very well financed, and but I think this machine is running out of gas, and we have a lot of steam in ours. However, a lot of green steam.
All right. Well, like I tell all candidates, and I'm not endorse anyone.
Of course.
The show. What I do say is, there's anything that I can do to help get the message out, let me know, because this is what I call my voter education series. My job is to educate, but I'm only one person. It's really up to you, the voter, to reach out to Dr. Cook as well as all the other candidates to ask the tough questions and find out if this is the candidate that you want. That's entirely up to you. I'm not telling you who to pick, but I am telling you to educate yourself before you pick. That's all.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. And it was great working with you during the pandemic and getting the word out there. You know what we did when we did that? We saved lives. And you can't work or go to a job if you're not here.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your help with that.
And I definitely appreciate your background. It's using the platform, but it's really your expertise. And we know we save lives. So I definitely appreciate that. And I thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, until we meet again.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, brother.
Are you too?
Am I going to see you Saturday at the Alpha thing? You going to be there?
Yes. Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll see you there.
Well, I'll be there, but I'll be there. I'll say
Okay.
that. I will be there.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right. Oh. Well, once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Cook, Richard Cook, who is running for Charles County Board of Commissioner District 1 for being on the show. That's a wrap. And for those, I didn't probably broadcast it, but this is beautiful and empowered. And this is an organization that was founded by Tia Collins. And the whole premise behind this organization is not only to empower women, but to also to help out the community, whether it's feeding the less fortunate, giving away clothes or hygiene products. And myself being the man, I come into the picture because I just assist them with their mission and their efforts, but it's really about them. So that's what we do here. We educate, we care, we advocate, and most importantly, we complain, but we bring some solutions. But gotta go. Remember, costs nothing to be kind but time. Peace and blessings.
Blaze the path.